Hey, Flooring Pros, I'm Jerry Levinson, and this is the Flooring Business Podcast, where each week we talk to expert flooring dealers, suppliers, marketing experts, software experts, and anyone I believe who's going to help you in your flooring business. We've got somebody to help the whole industry out this episode. So my mission is to give you good information that'll help you reach your goals. If you're just starting your business or trying to reach 5 million in sales, or you're ready to sell your business, you're going to find useful information that's going to help you reach your goals and profit now in the flooring industry. The Flooring Business Podcast is sponsored by Market Theory. Right now, you can take advantage of the 30-90 guarantee, where we guarantee you'll get at least 30 leads in home estimates in just 90 days, not just leads, in home estimates in 90 days. To learn more about that, go ahead and contact me, Jerry, at profitnowwithjerry.com. And this is going to be a fun one. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time here. I've got the Floor Covering Education Foundation, which is not easy for somebody like me to say. And on the call, I got Kay Moon Whitner. Did I say that right, Kay?
Whitener, yes.
Whitener.
That's all right.
And I've got Jim Aaron, and Kay says even though he has 2 first names, you can trust him. He's a really good guy. So,
I would never say that, Jerry.
No, you didn't. I just made that up. It's one of these subjects too. It's so interesting. I mean, before the call, we're talking about it and just all the stuff that I want you guys to hear. I wish we were recording before the call, because what Jim was sharing with me, he'll share with you. But this is fascinating what they're doing. I don't think enough of us in the flooring industry understand what you guys are up to. And I've just caught a glimpse of it here and there. And it's something I've wanted to share with people. So to help get more flooring dealers and people in the flooring community involved. So tell us a little bit about the Floor Covering Education Foundation. What are you guys up to?
Well, I'll go first, and I'll try to leave a few things for Kay. As you could tell before the call, Jerry, I'm pretty passionate about it, and I can run away and just tell everything about it. But I want Kay to be involved in this as well. So listen, the Floor Covering Education Foundation was actually announced back in December 2019. There was a big press event held at one of the hotels there in Chattanooga, where Don Roberts, Scott Humphreys, and quite a number of other people that are on the board of directors of the WFCA, they announced the formation of the Floor Covering Education Foundation. Of course, just about the time they were really getting everything rocking and rolling around the first part of 2020 is when, of course, COVID hit. And just like it did with everything else, it put this foundation on the back burner, so to speak. I came on board in February, March of last year. Kay was already in place as an employee for the Floor Covering Education Foundation. And real quickly, I'll give you just basically our mission and objective. We were hired or formed, and both of us hired for this mission. The mission is basically to recruit new talent into the flooring industry pipeline for installation, to connect those individuals to training organizations, to scholarship that training, and also to help assist in placement of those people in flooring installation careers. I will tell you that when we first got started, you start a project and then you start analyzing it, and then you realize, wow, we might need to actually adjust our mission statement because of some things you find out, some new information. And so now if you look at our mission statement, even before it says we're going to work on recruiting people into this industry, we exist to create awareness of this opportunity. And one of the biggest things that have been an eye-opening aha moment for me and for Kay is the fact that we have a tremendous awareness issue. And here's what I mean by that. Individuals, regardless of who they are, we looked at our target market, and it could be anywhere from teenagers to somebody like maybe in their early 30s. Maybe that's somebody who's saying, I want a different career change, right? This is not working like I thought it would. I want to try something else. That's our target market, right? And so those people can't choose to become a flooring installer if they don't first consider it, and they can't consider it if they're not even aware of it. And I know it's hard for us to believe, those of us that have spent all of our adult life in the flooring industry, that people don't even know that this is a career path. But trust me when I tell you, they don't know. By and large, they don't know. Think
Right.
about it. When people talk about trades, you always hear the common ones, right? Plumbing, electric, HVAC, those are the construction trades, right? You also hear about welding and other things, right? Shop, automotive shop repair, things like that. Flooring installation is never mentioned. It's never mentioned. And I've had to have a chance to talk to young people and ask them about this. And I said, well, if you're not even considering flooring installation, why? Why not? And they say, well, nobody ever talks about it. I actually had one kid to say, I didn't know that was a thing. Seriously, I didn't know you could make a living doing that. So kind of that's what we're dealing with. That's high level, kind of who we are and what we're doing. But Kay, what would you like to add to what I just mentioned?
Kay, if you would tell me about the study that Blackstone did.
So the Floor Covering Leadership Council back in 2018 commissioned the Blackstone Group to come in and to assess the industry. That's a third party company that comes in and they do an assessment of the industry to identify what our biggest issues are moving forward. It was important that we qualified and quantified what that installation crisis that we've been talking about. I mean, I'm in my 39th year this year in the industry because I started when I was 2. And I thought I'd get some laughs there other than Jim. But, we know that the industry and my dad was in the industry. So I kind of come back from when he worked at Burlington and I grew up in Dalton, Georgia, after we moved to Dalton. So I've seen the industry from, the 70s on, and we've never had anything kind of in place to help us as a unit come together and build out platforms of, just to bring anybody into the industry, whatever that looks like. So the Blackstone Group did that. It qualified and quantified those issues that we knew we were facing. I mean, we've all been having the same meetings for how long about what our biggest issues are. Well, our biggest issues is we can't get quality installers right now. And the report showed that we're losing between 4,000 to 6,000 installers each year for the next 10 years, and that our average age installer is 56.
That's chilling. I mean, 4,000 to 6,000. How is that even sustainable? I can't even fathom that.
Well, the problem is, Jerry, it won't be sustainable. I mean, 5 years from now, if we're not successful, this industry is going to look very different. We've all tried in different ways. I mean, you've got groups like Romanoff and some other, the unions, all of them have, they've done well in their silo of what they've been creating, but it's not been a nationwide, effort put together so that we're all kind of being part of this movement and supporting the movement. And until now, and I'm, we couldn't have come as far as we've come without the support that we've already established in the industry. But the problem is if everybody doesn't step up and help support this, then we can't even scholarship that 4,000 to 6,000 installers, even if we can reach them. Mm-hmm. So that's how important it is for the industry to step up as a support mechanism, like other industries are doing every day.
So to reach these kids, you're saying the awareness is the most important part. At what level? Where are you trying to reach the kids? In high school?
I would tell you it starts there. Listen, one of the things that Kay and I do among talking to, technical colleges, like I mentioned before the call, and we'll cover that in just a moment, but we partner with other organizations. And when I say other organizations, give you just one example. Last week, Kay and I had a great call with an organization called She Built This City. And it's an organization based in Charlotte, North Carolina, bringing females into the trades. And, they work with, women that just need maybe a second chance in life, right? But she was actually talking about they're putting together programs to help expose trades to kids, even in junior high school. And we've talked to other organizations that are like similar to us. There's another organization called Explore the Trades. And they do what we do, but they do it for the plumbing, electrical, and HVAC categories, and they will tell you the same thing. They're trying to get the word out to junior high kids. They're telling us that those decisions a lot of times are made a lot earlier than we think they are.
I mean, you got a lot of competition right now too, because even In-N-Out Burger is paying $17 an hour to start. I mean,
Jerry, I tell
wages.
you, I think here's another epiphany. So many epiphanies in the first year and a half about this thing. I think the average flooring retailer completely and grossly underestimates the competition we have from other trades. We simply do. Again, people can't choose this trade if they don't consider it. They can't consider it. They're not aware of it. And even if they do consider it, why would we got to think about this? Why would an individual choose our trade over another trade? And I want everybody to pause and think about that for a moment. And if you're not comfortable with that answer, then we've got some work to do. You're exactly right. Every other trade is starving for talent, just like we are, but yet they're more well-known, they're more well-organized, and so far they've been much better funded than we are. In a way, we're playing catch up and we're decades behind.
So one of the things I do, I have a master class. So I teach flooring dealers about the business side of flooring. I don't know as much about the product and the installation part, but a big part of my class is getting them to raise prices. So there's always this discussion about paying installers more, paying installers more. The only way you're going to do that is by charging the customer more. Mm-hmm. So it actually starts there. It doesn't start with just offering installers more money, because you cannot offer installers more money unless you're making a larger profit on the sale.
Completely
well,
agree.
and not only that, I think we as an industry have to realize the importance, and we have to make this a priority. But certification needs to have a value. It can't just be for the individual's own personal, belief system and elevation. It needs to be as the industry. We need to recognize that when we're talking about to our customers, when our salespeople are selling in a project, that value of having a certified installer on the job should equate into more money. We can't just take the installer who has got 20 years worth of experience and has done a phenomenal job for us, and we hand them the same sheet that we pay out per square foot that we do for the guy walking off the street with a knee kicker in a truck. We have to demand that, and that's where we have to come together and start talking about it. One of the things early on in my career, I was very fortunate to work for Collins and Aikman back in the 90s and was over their Source One departments. We did all the national accounts and we did the installation. So we would hire people to do all that beautiful blue blockbuster carpet, if I can say it right, nationwide. And so the scary thing is, honestly, is that, or let me back up just a minute, is I learned how to sell value, because the cost of Collins and Aikman carpet, which is now Tandis, which is now Tarkett, it was a higher commercial carpet in cost than just your cheap commercial carpet. So you learned how to sell value, and we have got to start teaching value over cost and how to sell that. And even when it comes to installation, because it does make a difference to most consumers. You still have your people that are just out here wanting the cheapest. And what I love the saying that says, if you think I'm expensive, hire somebody cheap.
Right. And I do this in sales training too. So I teach people how to sell and how to not only add value, but to show this is such a complicated industry. It really is. So to commoditize it is insanity. I mean, to say that you can get it cheaper at Home Depot as if it's willy-nilly, anybody can do a flooring install and it's not a big deal. It is a big deal. So how do you make that a big deal to the customer? How do you make them confident about using you and your team and afraid to not use somebody else, and not by bad mouthing somebody else, but by showing them your process, and the certification of your installer. There is no real certification of installers. There are, but they're not valued by the consumer in any way. So it's up to the flooring.
But that's our biggest. It's not valued by the consumer, but it's not also not valued by the industry. And once the industry starts putting a focus on that value, then they can legitimately talk about it. But it can't just be that we have a certification and it's important. The industry has to realize the value of it. The training partners who do this certification have to make sure that that conversation is out there so that we can then sell it into the consumer. But if we don't believe it and it's never been a push, we're not going to see that. And that's the only thing that Jerry's going to make a difference in what we're trying to do, is that we as the industry have to step up and make that important, and it has to be important.
And I like to show this as, we talk about this if you talk about it in an academic sort of way, such as you need certification, you need this education, you need this and that, rather than a value to the flooring dealer and a way for them to grow their business, make higher profits, give better customer satisfaction, while taking care of your salespeople, while taking care of your installers. It really is an all-encompassing thing, because I can tell you the other real challenge with installers is having the proper insurance, having the proper, not only medical insurance, but having, the workman's comp insurance, the liability insurance. I mean, so many of us are operating in an illegal fashion, and not because we're bad people, because it's complicated. So having that all-encompassing system from the business side too, to show them the value, to get people in for the education, but then when they come out, that they are certified in a meaningful way, that they are underneath that umbrella in that system, so they're getting the insurance properly. Because most of these guys are 1099, right? They're all subcontractors.
Unfortunately,
the large companies use subcontractors.
Yeah, and I think that's something we've got to look at as well, Jerry. And listen, I can already imagine what I'm about to say is not going to be very popular with a lot of your listeners, but it needs to be said. The 1099 system has honestly exacerbated this issue. It's honestly exacerbated this issue. You got to keep remembering what I said. We have to start thinking about other trades. And those are our competition, right? All of your retailers on this call, or that are listening or watching or whatever, they think about their competition every day. We've got to start thinking about other trades as our competition collectively. Because if we're really trying to grow people and bring them into the industry, we've got to look at it through their eyes. Why would they choose this trade versus another trade? And the pay is part of it. Look, I would tell you, I talk to a lot of retailers that are moving more and more and more away from a 1099 to a W-2 type situation, where they actually have their installers on their payroll. There's quite a number. In fact, there's a person on our board of directors that has 1/3 of all of his installers as W-2, and he's trying to move that up even higher.
Yeah.
Look, I would tell you, it's I know that there's pros and cons of each, and right now the big pro is, hey, I don't have to, pay insurance on these guys. I don't have to give them, 401ks. I don't have to give them time off. It's 1099. But you know what? Think about all of the control we have lost in doing that. Again, if you take a look at some of these other trades, a guy coming out of a trade school right now who's going into electrician or plumbing, you don't see as much of the 1099 situation in other industries as you do in ours. And I think it's hurt us. I really do.
But those guys that bring people in-house have to also be shown how they're capable of charging more money.
Certainly.
And capable of making up those additional charges, because you can get away with not paying workman's comp on somebody that's a 1099, but
Right.
Once they're in-house, you're going to have to pay workman's comp.
Exactly.
And that's not cheap, especially in that. In fact, there's a lot of insurance companies don't even want to touch flooring. Sure. They will not give you workman's comp for flooring. So this is going a little different direction than I expected it to,
Yeah,
you know.
that's okay. That's
So,
okay.
but it is an interesting conversation to say, you know, how do you get more people on board? And it's really having some of these business models that show how somebody successfully brings them in-house.
Mhm.
You know, I'd love to do a show with somebody that does have in-house installers, but even the person you talked about can only do that with a portion, because the other challenge that we have, and I don't know if other industries are like this, the up and down of our cycle, you know, one month we need a ton of installs done and the next month we're not as busy.
Sure.
So that's where that 1099 system, especially for the smaller dealers, the ones that are doing under 5 million a year,
Right. Yeah.
which
No
probably
question.
makes up most of the flooring business that's out there.
Well, one thing
Yeah.
I think we have to look at also is just, you know, is this sustainable? Is this platform sustainable for the future? And I'll tell you, just from having conversation with the students who are going through the technical college program, and you know, and the challenge we have when putting them in the job placement side of this is, when we do get them through training, we're putting them out as 1099s. If we're putting them out, are they're having to go, they're not really going to work for the retailer, they're going to work for a crew. And so you even lose a little bit more of that control in how that you make sure to ensure their training. And that's part of the federal government has changed so much of that dynamic and how that you can treat employees versus 1099. But we're very fortunate to have retailers, you know, on both sides talking to us and helping us navigate this conversation, because it is part of what we're doing. But we have a lot of students that are not, first of all, when they get through the 10-week program, they're not ready to go out on their own. They're not at a place, they're just at, this is introductory. This is just to bring them into the industry.
Mhm.
We need them in job training, on the job training with other people to continue to learn. So it's a challenge.
I've given
Our
that some
industry
thought
has been a
too.
challenge.
You're saying, because we've had people talk about that in the forum, is, you know, oh, that just 10 weeks of the training doesn't mean that they're ready. You know, so what? They're in. they're in doing the work. You've made that a major first step. You got them in, you got them interested, and yeah, they're not experienced, but the only way to get experience is to get in. So,
You know, that's just it. We have never, when we put this 10-week program together at the technical colleges, and I'd love to talk a little bit more about that, we
yeah.
never, ever build it anything other than what it is. And it's called a basic installation course of study, basic installation. And so it's, you know, as I said before, people are not going to come out of this 10-week class that we have in the technical colleges now, you know, knowing how to hand sew a seam. They're just not. It's good. They're going to be what I call a darn good helper on virtually any surface you put them out on.
And
Well,
right now, who is it that you guys are finding that's attracted to the message that's coming out? You've had 2 pilot classes so far. How did you find these students just from the get-go?
A couple of things, I want Kay to add on to this as well. Here's what I believe. Not only does training have to go local, it has to go local, period. And we can talk about more about that, but training has to go local. I mean, in your local community, in your local town, in the biggest city you live close to, because keep in mind what I said over and over, we're competing against other trades, and every other trade has training you can get locally. We've got to do the same thing if we're going to take this serious. So then I think the recruitment has to go local. I will tell you, we tried some digital ads, some social ads, right? Advertising to our target market, Google and Facebook and all these other, you know, ways you can advertise digitally. They can really, and you know this probably better than I do, Jerry, they can really help you drill down to your exact target market. And last fall and winter, we spent a decent amount of money testing digital ads to recruit those type of people. Virtually no results, virtually no results. And I would tell you that it's not that. If you, we talked to one technical college down in Jacksonville. It's Jacksonville area technical college. And we were asking the lady, hey, do you ever do any studies and find out why people here at your technical college chose a particular career path? In other words, what was it that made them say, I want to do this or this or this? And the lady said, well, sir, that's, of course, that's the kind of information we have and need to know. And so she said, we did a study a couple of years ago, and we asked them that exact question. What influenced you to take this course of study that you're studying now, whatever it is? And she said over 95% of the respondents fell in one of two categories. The first category was a high school guidance counselor. Now think about that, high school guidance counselor. And here was the logic behind it. If you're a kid whose parents have always pushed you to go to a four-year university, you don't really need to talk to the high school guidance counselor. You and your parents probably had that figured out. You probably know exactly which type of four-year university you want to go to, and maybe the exact four-year university. But if you don't know that, if you still are confused and you still want ideas, guidance counselors are there for that purpose. They're there for that purpose. So those people that are going to technical colleges, we're finding, are influenced heavily by the high school guidance counselors locally. The second category was, and they lumped this together, either a relative or a neighbor. A relative or a neighbor. It's word of mouth, Jerry. It's word of mouth. So I got a question for every retailer listening to this. When's the last time you've talked to your neighbor's kid, or your neighbor who has a kid living in the basement at 26 years old, playing Call of Duty all day? I mean, seriously, when's the last time you've talked to your brother or sister about their kid who's 16 or 17? And you might have talked to them about maybe joining your store as a salesperson. But I can tell you, we got to do some recruiting locally. Training, that's the other thing. Training has to go local. Recruiting has to go local. But going back to your question about how did we find the 15 people, some of it was word of mouth. Some of it was, believe it or not, actual direct mail. And I actually thought direct mail was dead. It's not. We were very specific in where we targeted the direct mail.
Really?
It was basically a postcard. It was basically a postcard that talked about the career path with a QR code that people could scan, and it had all of the information about the class. And we for the pilot, we limited it to 8 students for the first cohort, and we limited it to 8 students for the second cohort. We had 8 and 8. One person dropped out at the very last minute for some other reasons I can't remember, but we had a class full. I mean, so we graduated 8 and 7, and they all were from around that. I say I wasn't going to be actually correct on that. Most of them were from around the Dalton, Georgia area. But get this, we had 2 students in the first cohort that came from far out of town. One actually came from Cincinnati, Ohio, and lived with his family, his distant family in the Dalton, Georgia area for 10 weeks. Another one was from, I think, Elizabethtown, Kentucky. A Carpet One dealer in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, sent one of their guys to live in an Airbnb for 10 weeks. Wow. That's how bad he needs installers. So, okay.
Yeah, he also paid him a salary.
Yes, and he paid him a salary while he was going through training. Thanks, Kay. Yeah, and you can listen, Jerry. You can tell I'm really passionate about this because I see, I see more closely now that I've been doing this a year and a half that the situation, I believe, is a lot more dire than most flooring retailers believe. They don't realize it. They don't realize they don't realize the storm that's coming if we don't do something about it now. And that's the thing. When is a crisis a crisis? Is it a crisis when the meteorologist on the news says, hey, and you're living in New Orleans, Louisiana, hey, there's a hurricane that's coming in 6 days and it's going to bear right down on our town? Is it a crisis then, or is it a crisis once it hits?
Yeah.
I would tell you, we're facing a crisis. It's coming. We've got to do something about it. And again, training has to go local and recruitment has to go local. Kay, you can tell I'm passionate about it. And Jerry, you can tell I'm passionate about it. We all have to be passionate about it. Without passion, nothing is going to get done. So Kay, what would you like to add to share with Jerry based on what I just said?
No, you asked about recruitment, Jerry. I think it's we're learning in different ways, in different areas, and working with different dynamics. So we have to be a moving target in recruitment. Nobody's got a magic answer. I think one of the things that we, as the floor covering industry, need to understand, this was a report that I received 2 years ago from a dealer, and he had pulled I think it was a Catalina report, if I remember correctly, but it was talking about the baby boomers, and that's where we all are. And, the average family size when the baby boomers went into work were 2.7, kids per family. And then it dropped down with each generation. And right now we're looking at 1.7. So we don't have the bodies out there to recruit. Everybody says that nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to do this hard work. And I just think we've got to understand, yes, there are people out there that want a clear pathway. We just need to give that to them. And we've already seen that, but the bodies are not there. So we have to adjust the way that we do business. And as the industry, it's important that we all build this together.
Well, I don't think we talk about real solutions. I mean, we complain about the problem and don't really bring it down to a level. So I don't want to pass this over. So high school guidance counselors, relative or neighbor. So let's talk a little bit about this relative neighbor. The flooring dealers are out there. Is there a link or a simple system I think we should make available to them? So when they do have that conversation with them, where do you send them? So what if it's the flooring dealer that knows that kid that you're talking about, but he's not going to bring him into his own business, but he knows that this opportunity exists, and that would be good for Charlie, who's playing video games in his parents' basement. So, do you guys have the link, or where should that dealer send that kid?
I am so glad you asked, Jerry. So glad you asked. So we have two different websites. So first of all, I want to tell you FCEF, those are the initials, Floor Covering Education Foundation, FCEF.org. That, first of all, is the website for our industry. If you're a manufacturer, if you're a retailer, if you're a distributor, whatever, if you're in the industry and you want to find out what we're doing and how you can help, you go to that website, FCEF.org. The website you want to send send the guy to is flooryourfuture.com. Flooryourfuture.com. You like that?
Yeah, it's cute.
Okay, flooryourfuture.com. So I tell you, we just finished updating that site, and we're really proud of it because it has video testimonials of actual real installers to advocating for the career path, why they chose it, how it's improved their life, how the kind of money they're making, all of that kind of stuff. It also gives the visitor to the website the opportunity to choose or to look at different types of flooring. Okay, what is like being a carpet installer like? What is being a tile installer like? So we have different pathways. Depending on what you're doing now, if you're just a student or if you're that 20-something or early 30-something, what about military? You just got out of the military. We're finding out that we're talking to a guy with an organization called Recruit Military, and he's telling us that there are over 200,000 people every single year that exit military and want to go back to their own local hometown where they grew up. Why aren't we talking to those people as well? And I'm not talking about people retiring. I'm talking about people that spent 4 years in and they're done and they go back to their hometown. But anyway, we've got all of that information on flooryourfuture.com, all of the different pathways. That's where you would send a person. Oh, by the way, we also have our calendar of training events there. And also they're able to apply for a scholarship online on that site, flooryourfuture.com.
Okay, great. And have you gotten people like Broadloom, Todd Saunders? Is he aware of all this? Jason Goldberg, that team over there. These guys are especially Todd Saunders. He's about as vocal as you can be. And because I still think a digital way of marketing is the way to go.
Sure.
But it might be through short TikTok videos now, or something like that to recruit it, and done in an entertaining, sexy sort of way to recruit these kids.
Sure.
So,
Yeah,
and
no,
don't
listen.
have some 70-year-old guy giving the message, so.
No, you're exactly right. And I will tell you, if you take a look at our videos, we don't use actors on the videos. We use real people. I mean, we use real people that are installers talking to the camera about why they chose this. And by the way, it was very important. I told you, I think I told you earlier, it might have been before we started recording here when we were kind of chatting when we first got on, that we've actually had kids, when I talked to kids about this opportunity, and I asked them, I was in, actually, I'll tell you the story. I was in a room full of kids in a high school in Bryan, Texas, of all places. And all of these kids were on the construction path. In other words, this is one of those high schools that had a kind of a technical school built into the high school, right? And so what they did is they allowed these kids to choose a trade, a CTE type of course in the junior and senior year. And they had a lot of kids on the construction path. In other words, these kids would take like construction 101 their junior year, construction 102 the senior year. And so I'm standing there talking to all of these kids, 35 or 40 kids in the room. Again, keep in mind, they're all going into a construction trade. And I asked them how many were going into flooring installation. Of course, you can imagine not one single hand went up. Okay, fair enough. How many of you have considered it? Again, not one single hand went up. And that's when I started asking the kids, well, if you're not going into flooring, but you're going into construction related trade, what are you going to do? And Jerry, I could have built a house with everything they mentioned. I kid you not, when they mentioned every single part of the house in construction except flooring. And I actually had a kid on the front row raise his hand and say, that's a thing. That's a thing. Like, really, people make a living doing that? And I thought I was being pranked. I really did. I thought, how can you not know that's a thing? But he really didn't. And that's what we're dealing with. But then I started talking about why they should consider it. And then it just hit me. I mean, here I am, I've got my sports coat on, I've got my nice shoes on, and I know they're looking at me going, you've never installed a floor in your life. And I realized I didn't come with any credibility to the topic. So what we needed to do was actually use real installers to tell that message. And one of the things I'm proud of is if you look at our websites, you won't see a bunch of, pardon if, I can say this because I am one of them. You won't see a bunch of old white men, okay,
Right.
on our website. You just won't. You'll see young people and you'll see a broad diversity. You'll see Hispanics, you'll see African Americans, you'll see a lot of females as well. And we're working that angle as well. There's a surprising number of females that are getting into the construction industry, and we're becoming aware of quite a number of females that are installers. Look, we got to look everywhere, right? And I think this is a great career path for the right person, regardless of your gender or origin or whatever. So yeah, we've got it all covered when you go to flooryourfuture.com.
Okay, great. Well,
Hey,
and I would
Jerry.
like to see them working with, Broadloom. They got FloorCon coming up. They should have a booth there so you guys can educate installers and, that important to the industry.
In full candor, I haven't had conversations with Todd. That's probably something we eventually need to do. But I have been discussing with Neil Daly, and we were talking about some ideas for something at the FloorCon convention.
Okay.
Although I know, Broadloom and those guys, they say they're not a buying group, and I know they're not. But just while we're on that topic, while the buying groups are on my mind, I did want to mention that we did a couple of weeks ago, we were able to announce the support of CCA Global.
Oh, great.
CCA Global has we were
Absolutely.
at their convention with a booth. They were very supportive and have been and are very supportive of our organization. And they just made an announcement of their first donation to our foundation of $50,000.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, good. Good. I'm
Yeah,
glad.
we've been extremely blessed by a lot of the buying groups. I mean, Floors and More, and
Yes.
a lot of them have given us opportunities to speak at their conventions. Our biggest issue that we're facing right now is just time. Usually flooring conventions all happen during the first half of the year, and then it's sporadic throughout the rest of it. But we are also attending events like the American School Counselors Association meeting that held 5,000 school counselors, and then we'll be attending one that is for technical college school counselors. So it's just between Jim and I being, pretty much and with Tiffany, our assistant, there's only so much we can get to. But
Right. But let me give you,
before-
a solution to that real quick. Shoot a
Well,
video. Shoot a
we
video
do.
that they can show at the convention.
Yeah, and again, it's, this awareness is worse than what we thought it was. And
Yeah.
so I think we've all realized real quickly that we've never, as an industry, come together in a concentrated effort to really kind of make sure that we put platforms in place to help the next generation even consider us. So it's a big elephant in the room. Jim, before we move on, I think Jerry's question too, about what do you do with this student that I'm talking to that may be interested. We created, our marketing team created 2 kits. Why don't you tell Jerry a little bit about the kits that the dealers can have access to? One is a job fair kit and the other is an awareness kit that they can use from SEO.
Yeah, we'll talk about that real quick. So again, another epiphany that I would say, and saying that I've been using for quite some time now. And here it is. There is absolutely no scenario where progress is made on the installation crisis that does not involve engagement at the local level. Let me say it again. There's absolutely no scenario where this problem is going to be solved that doesn't involve engagement at the local level. What I mean is that's where the magic happens, right? First of all, there's no silver bullet, there's no magic wand, but if there was, it involves locality, it involves doing things in your local market, recruiting and bringing training to your local market. We can talk about the technical college program momentarily, but let me talk about what we've put together for people to have a tool to do something locally. So of course, we survive on donations. We offer, so far we've offered well over $100,000 worth of scholarships to quite a number of individuals, and we need to offer more. And in order to offer those scholarships, we need donations. Mohawk Shaw, Engineered Floors, Dixie, Mannington, and quite a number of other major manufacturers have donated to the foundation. But I will tell you, every time we talk to those major suppliers, you know what they're asking? Well, what are the dealers doing? What are the dealers doing? Are they supporting your foundation? Are they donating to your foundation too? Because it shouldn't be all on the suppliers. And right now, overwhelmingly it is. We do have quite a number of retailers, not enough, not nearly enough, that are donating monthly. Don Roberts wrote an article in Floor Covering Weekly a while back, challenging every independent flooring retailer to donate $100 per month per location to the foundation to provide scholarships and the things we're doing to create awareness. So we said, okay, people like to get something when they spend money, even if it's for a charity, right? Or foundation. And we developed what we call a digital awareness kit. And this is a group of digital assets that we're going to send to you that actually will give you a code once you donate, and you can download all of these digital assets from our fcef.org website. And for $100 per month per location, you get our digital awareness kit. You can find out all about this on our website under the donations tab. It talks all about what's included in the digital awareness kit. We also have one other kit. We had people say, hey, I'm going to a job fair, but if I go to this job fair, all I've got is stuff about my store to take with me. I don't have anything that talks about installation. I would love to have some. Can you guys send me some of your stuff? We had enough of those requests that we said, you know what, we're just going to put together a kit and we're going to give it away for a $500 donation. And I will tell you, if you went out and put all of this stuff together, it's going to cost you a heck of a lot more than $500. There's no way you could do this yourself for $500. But we've already had some of the assets created because of our work previously with the marketing company. So again, you can find all this information on our website, fcef.org, and click on the Donate Now tab. And it'll give you different options. You'll learn about the digital awareness kit, $100 a month gets you that, and the $500. And I will say it's actually $540 because the $40 covers the shipping of all of the contents for you to take this job fair or career fair kit to a job fair near you.
So there's a lot of organizations that a lot of us are unaware of and don't care about, quite frankly, because of the way that they're promoted. And it's just not done in a good way, especially on social media, where there's a lot of conversations. There's a lot of people I know that go to the forum, never make a comment, but they're just reading comments. And it was really Kay's posts about the actual class that started bringing awareness, especially to me and several other people, so I think some of these challenges and all that, we can do that in a consistent way on the Facebook forum. I do take sponsorships myself. I do advertising, but when it comes to things like this, anything that's really beneficial to the community and the industry as a whole, I'm going to do everything I can to promote it. It just has to be done in a simple and sexy way, to make it so people know how they can get involved. I mean, even doing some sort of webinar or something like that, just to help flooring dealers learn about it and understand how they can make a donation or get involved. How about some of the bigger guys like Home Depot and Lowe's and Empire and Express Flooring, all these big mega companies spending thousands of dollars on advertising? What are they doing to help out? Are they lending a hand?
It's a great question. Not enough. I would tell you, it's not always easy to get the right person inside each one of those organizations. Although I am working with right now, I will tell you the Lowe's organization has been more responsive than the others. Look, I know a lot of people don't like to hear this name, but Floor and Decor. I actually have an appointment next month to go down and sit with their chief executives and talk about how they can be a major supporter of our foundation as well.
Good.
So we're making progress. Listen, I would tell you that sometimes they refer you to, go talk to the people that run our Lowe's Foundation. There is something called the Lowe's Foundation, right? They say, go talk to them. And again, unless you have got the right person making you the connection, sometimes those dry up pretty quickly, but we're not giving up hope because listen, they sell a lot of flooring and they need to be a part of this as well. Ultimately, a rising tide rises all ships, right? And everybody needs to be involved in rising the tide.
Well, and I think too, it's really important, working for manufacturers. Then I worked for high-end retailers when I moved to Nashville. And then after 2008, ended up in the builder world. So we see so many different hats and we work so independently in each of them that for the first time in my career, we get to be agnostic. If it lifts the industry, we get to have those conversations. So we're having the conversations with the unions. We're having the conversations with the big workrooms who supply labor to, Home Depot and Lowe's. And they've been very receptive to those conversations. I think it's important to understand that we all benefit when we elevate this career path. If we don't elevate it, we all suffer. And I think that's where we're at now. But I think that they're feeling the pain as much as anybody else. And that this is kind of a hopefully a no-brainer. The other side of this, Jerry, is as dealers, and I know it's hard to believe, but we're sold on something all day long. We're constantly being approached to buy into something, and it's very hard for them sometimes to understand that we truly are here to address a problem. I don't have all the answers yet, but we will figure them out. We're going to make this happen. We are going to be successful in what we're doing. If not, our industry as a whole is going to suffer.
Well, there's a lot of people that have tried stuff that hasn't stuck.
Correct.
Constantly. So there's a lot of people that are, they make a little effort at it. The funny thing that you mentioned was COVID kind of destroyed, or set you back a couple of years. And during COVID is when the demand just shot through the roof. Yeah. So it's kind of like losing doctors when everybody's getting sick. Exactly. It's so probably a greater need. What is your message to the kid that why should they consider flooring as an option? What's the advantage for them? What's the benefits for that kid that is looking for a career and likes maybe not academically is sharp and it's not going to go to college, but wants to make a living?
Well,
Can-
it's
Can I stop something real quick?
Yeah.
Because this is something, and I'm just going to interject. This has been a conversation that we all have, Jerry, and I'm not knocking you for saying it, because everybody says it all the time. If you're not going to college, or we want your C and D students, or, that's not the goal here. The goal is to find that person, whoever it is, and to get them to understand that this pathway offers many opportunities, financially opportunity, some really good financial opportunities, but we can't sell this pathway into a young student by saying, hey, I know you're not studious, or you don't want to go to college, or, this is another avenue. I think we have to change that verbiage completely. I think this is just another form of higher education that in fact, if you do go to college and you've got business degree and you've got accounting, this could be a great fit for you, because when you come out of this training and come into this field, you're making a very good living doing something that you control. So there's a lot of conversations that can be had with younger people. Some of it has to do with owning your own business at some point, that 1099 dynamic. Some of it may not, because it may not interest some kids. Some kids want to come in to work with, they want vacation time, and so we have to be able to have that conversation in two different ways. But I think for our industry, that's the way we've always presented it, is that, it's the student that really doesn't want to go to college or can't afford to go to college. We want you in here, but I think we open it up to anybody who wants to really hone a craft. I want to see the installation pathway be described the way that we used to describe brick masons. Does that make sense? I mean,
Yeah, but I would argue with you that not argue, sorry, but
oh, come on, Jerry, let's argue.
All right, fine, let's argue. I would I would say not another word out of you, Tiffany. I would say that trade schools generally go after that kid that's not looking for a four-year college. And it's not to say that they're dumb, it's just to say that these kids do prefer more physical labor, or these kids do, look, in marketing, there's a target audience.
Sure.
And
always.
When you go after everybody, you get less results. So when you target that niche and that audience, you get better results with your marketing. And I think you're likely to attract that kid that's not interested in a four-year college. And you're not telling them that you're dumb and you didn't make the grade. You're just saying that, look, if that's not for you and you're ready to hit the ground running, because look, trade schools, by and large, are going to get you hitting the ground running a lot faster.
Yes.
No question.
And not as far in debt. I'm not disputing what you said. I think just for me, because I hear this everywhere we go, is that, somebody says, well, there's two things they say, is that young people don't want to work, and that, we only get the C and D students. I mean, and I guess for me, I just, if we're going to elevate this, that yes, we have to target a certain market. There's only a certain personality that wants to do this work. Is this work hard? Absolutely. It's very hard. But when did working hard become a bad word? I mean, my dad always taught me that if you really want to make something and do something, that you do it right, and it's going to take work to get into it. So we just have a different concept.
I will say when it became a bad thing is when there were easier paths to making money, which again, that's the competition. And you got to acknowledge the fact that there are things that kids can do digitally with these video games, with YouTube, or even going to work at a Fry's or a grocery store or someplace, and they come out, they're not looking career, they're looking at, okay, what can I make tomorrow? $17, $18, $19 an hour to do nothing, stuff that we made $3.35 an hour minimum wage back in the day, and these kids are
I
making
remember 225. So that's
okay.
sad.
So you're a
That's
little
sad.
older than I am. That was
And
$3.35. So
and I totally agree with you. I mean, I know that that's where we are. One of the things about the program that we're doing at Technical College is that we are exposing them to the technology. And RFMS has been a great partner to step in and kind of show the mobile measure, to the students. And we've kind of written that in so that they can see that we actually do have some really neat ways of doing things through technology. But again, we don't want to scare somebody off because we keep saying hard work. I just know that hopefully there's better ways of doing things today than it was 20 years ago. I mean, the way that we used to build relationships and stuff didn't involve this thing right here. It involved us getting out, going and meeting late hours at night, and thank God that we didn't have that. So there's no video record of some of it, but we have to change the way we do business.
Okay, one of the things I talk about in sales training is that, we don't sell the finished product and how gorgeous this thing looks. And I would even say that when you're teaching a kid or showing the kid the opportunity, even showing some of the finished product, some of the amazing bathroom remodels or amazing new flooring and how that customer feels, and showing a kid, I'll teach you how to do this, how to lay this beautiful flooring.
That's an excellent point, Jerry. I think we don't talk about that enough. And look, a guy who's going to be in plumbing or electric or whatever, they do their work and it's immediately covered up by drywall, right? You never see it. But a floor becomes a part of your life. And you know what? It becomes a part of your memories, does it not? I mean, Jerry, I think if you pause for a moment and think about the house you grew up in, that you spent the most amount of time in, you can probably imagine what that floor looked like in the kitchen and probably imagine what that floor looked like in the living room. Look, I'm 57 years old. I was 5 years old in 1970, and we had brown, yellow, and green shag carpet. It was the ugliest thing ever, but it's etched in my mind. It becomes a part of people's lives. It becomes a part of people's memories. And thank God now things are a lot more beautiful than they were. But that's a part of it too. You could become a craftsman and create something beautiful in someone's home. So
we also on our website, Floor Your Future, we incorporated a before and after of different products. And so some of our, again, it's to visually show somebody. And I think it was an installer that works for Pruitt's, that one of our videos, he says, when you can take something that's ugly and be a part of seeing it become beautiful, it just gives you a satisfaction that's, hard to explain. So we have to have that as part of the sell-in because it's a big part of our story.
I was a pipe fitter at one time, and knowing how to weld, and you could see the welds were amazing, beautiful welds. And compare that to I've installed blinds, and a monkey can install blinds, but the customer's appreciation for it is so much greater than, like you said, a pipe or anything that's going to be covered up by drywall. It's like, who cares about that? But yeah, floors are just, I can't emphasize this enough, is how beautiful floors are when you get it done and what that customer feels like and how grateful they are. And then the products have gotten easier than ever to install, with some of the click mechanisms and all that. And, you can argue about quality in floor prep and all that stuff all day long. But the fact is the industry is pretty good to get into. What about the pay and just the vast amounts? You'll never be without work.
Well, that's an excellent point. Again, I just encourage everybody to take a look at our videos on our website if you haven't done it already, especially the ones on Floor Your Future. What was interesting is you see the video we created. I think we created it last year. It's still relevant. It will be relevant for a very, very long time. And it has people that are relatively new. And I say relatively new, I mean, they've been in the business 5 or 10 years. And I had one old I say I shouldn't call him old. He's my age, maybe a little bit older, so he's not that old, right? he came to me and he said, Jim, I love the videos, what you guys are doing, having real installers advocate for the career path. But, what about people like me? He said, Jim, I'm in my 60s. And this job has provided me with an income that I never would have seen without it. And I don't mind sharing who he is. His name is Roland Thompson up in Baltimore, Maryland. You know Roland.
Oh, yeah.
Because I put 5 kids through private school. And I don't know if you know how expensive private school is, but he's put 5 kids through it. He said, I've seen things I never would have seen without this industry. He lives there in Maryland. He's actually installed carpet in the White House. How cool is that? And so he came to me and he said, you ought to do a video of guys like me looking back who are kind of like in the autumn or winter of our career, looking back and saying, this is what it created for me. So that's what we did at the CFI convention. We had our marketing partner there filming a lot of these guys that have been in for a long time, and the work is being done on that video now, should be released in about a month or so.
Yeah, I know he does the Restaurant Impossible shows. He does some really cool stuff. So he's always fun to talk to.
No doubt. Yeah, very good. Kate, what other questions do you have, Jerry? I know
there's one other gentleman too that I'm not sure if you're aware of, Luke Miller, that he runs the site Tile Money. And
I've heard of him. I don't know him though.
Just from marketing and positioning standpoint, and Tile Money is full of nothing but installers, tile installers. And they're trying to elevate the game and help these guys make more money. But just an interesting guy to also promote, that runs a pretty good Facebook group and is able to promote this. So I think, well, one of the questions was if I, as a flooring dealer, sent an installer in, what's that look like for me? Have you had anybody do that in your pilot program where they got that installer back? What was that experience like?
Well, yeah, a couple of things. Let me address this, and I'll ask Kay to kind of fill in any gaps that I missed. This guy in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, I hope I'm getting his town right. It's Mike Edens at Edens Carpet One. And so kind of here's what he does, here's what he has done. He hires a guy for his warehouse, right, and tests the guy out in the warehouse for a little while. If he shows up on time, if he does his work, if he's doing a good job, then Mike takes that guy and says, I'm going to invest in him. Kind of like a 90-day period in the warehouse to see if the guy's going to show up and work hard. And so Mike took this Logan young man, and like I said before, he put Logan up in in an Airbnb for 10 weeks and paid him a salary and let him drive a company vehicle. And when Logan came back, now what Mike did was, he went to his best 1099 crew. And let's say his 1099 crew's leader's name was Jack. Basically, Mike looked at Jack and said, Jack, here's Logan. He's your new helper. Logan's now going to make $20 an hour. You're going to pay him $10 an hour, and he's going to be the best helper you've ever had in your life for $10 an hour because he's been trained for 10 weeks by a CFI certified installer. And by the way, I'm going to pay him $10 an hour. So Logan's now going to make $20 an hour, and he's going to work up with you, and he's going to shadow you, and you're going to teach him beyond what he's already learned. And when Logan gets ready, you're going to tell me when he's ready, then we're going to help Logan get set up with his own tools and his own van and crews like that. So that's one example. I'm not saying that's the answer for everyone, but that just goes to show you, Jerry, I hear already in a year and a half, I have heard so many people say what can't be done. And it's really frustrating when those people they don't want to provide any solutions or answers.
Yeah.
They don't want to think out of the box. They just want to talk about what's all been tried and how nothing is ever going to work. And you know what, if you come around me with that, don't come around, because all I want to talk to is people that are talking positive and thinking about solutions, even if the solution sounds crazy at first. Look, most people would think what Mike Edens did was crazy, but you know what? It works. That's how bad he needs installers. And And here's the other thing. If some people go, I'm afraid to invest in an installer. Okay, great, Jim. You guys are paying half of the tuition through a scholarship. Yes, we are. But what about the other half? If I want to invest in this guy, how do I know I'm getting my money back? Well, if any of your listeners want it, we have a contract that was developed by Jeff King. Jeff King is the attorney on retainer for the World Floor Covering Association. Jeff King created a contract that basically you can sign with your installer, and you can word the contract a little bit different, however you want to word it. Some people use that contract to say, hey, Joe, I'm investing the balance of what is needed here. I'm investing all the money in paying for the rest of your education. If you work for me for a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, you don't have to pay me back. You just got to work for me for that length of time. But if you quit, then here's what you owe me prorated. Some retailers say, well, no, you're going to pay me back, and you're going to pay me back $100 a month or whatever it is. We're clean after 2 years. And by the way, this contract works. It's been held up in court. Jeff King is an amazing attorney. And I would tell you, that's part of the answer. It's not the only answer. Like I said before, no magic bullet, no silver bullet, no magic wand is going to solve this. It's going to be a lot of different things. And that's just one more tool in the toolbox.
With every problem, there are opportunities that are saying. We've always had that as a saying. So what is the cost of the course?
Well, it depends. If somebody wants to go, say, to the 5-week carpet class that CFI puts together, let's just start there. That class is $5,000. That's what CFI charges, $5,000 for the 5-week carpet class. Our scholarship is $2,500. By the way, that's the maximum amount of our scholarship. Now, let's say somebody didn't want to go to the 5-week class, but they wanted to go to the 2-week carpet class that CFI puts together. That class costs $2,500, and we scholarship $1,250 of that. Okay. Now, what happens with that other $1,250? Well, guess what? That person still can apply for $1,250 of scholarships for another class in the future. Our scholarships are 50% of the tuition for a training class that is beginner from either CFI, NWFA, National Wood Flooring Association, or CTEF, which is Ceramic Tile Education Foundation. That's the training arm of the National Tile Contractors Association. Last thing I will tell you is that when we go into the technical colleges, each technical college is probably going to charge something different it's going to be different based on their budget, based on their expenses. You got to keep in mind, once we help a technical college put this class on, they're kind of on the hook, right? I mean, they've got a balance sheet just like a business does, even though it's a college. And they got expenses, they've got income, they've got to hire an instructor, which we're helping them with that along the way. So they've got to take a look at what they're going to charge compared to other things. They also have to look at what it's going to cost the technical college to get into providing this class, right? Buying all the tools and all those kind of things. So each technical college is going to, go a little bit different. But I will tell you that when it comes to technical colleges, our scholarships are not 50-50. We will pay $2,500 of the tuition after other opportunities locally are exhausted. Here's what I mean. In the state of Georgia, they have something called the Hope Scholarship. That's where all the local lottery money goes. And it's all about technical and community colleges. We simply ask that the student exhaust those type of resources, and whatever's left, we will cover it 100% up to $2,500. Did I get that right, Kay?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
But one thing I want to throw in here too is Jerry, you ask about somebody sending someone to one of the programs. Ultimately, what our goal is to replicate this program nationwide. So we already have Oklahoma State University Institute of Technology that's adding the program. We have 2 in Atlanta that are adding it. We have probably about 10 or 15 that we are talking to in the last part of phasing to implement this nationwide, because it's not going to do, as Jim has said over and over again, it's not going to do us any good just to have these in just like one region or one area. So we want to encourage any dealer out there that may have an opportunity in their area, a technical college system, or a relationship with somebody there now, or they want to reach out, find out if they're interested in having a conversation with us, and then connect us together. Because one of the things that, and I think Jim alluded to it a few minutes ago, is that each of the colleges all work independently and differently, and there's different needs. So this 10-week program that was created is, we can do it as a non-credit program. We can do it as it has been accredited now, which makes it easier to replicate nationwide. And we can build out the program that best fits the college. And before we get off, the one thing I want us to do is to fully understand that the three partners that created this basic floor covering program have been instrumental in the process of this whole program. That's going to be your CFI, that's going to be your NWFA, that's going to be your CTEF. These professionals put this quality level training together and allowed us the opportunity to work together as a unit, as the industry in doing so.
Great. All right. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to add? I think I usually try to go about an hour, and we easily win an hour and 15 minutes. So it's very interesting.
It's a passionate topic. It's a topic that is going to affect everyone eventually if you're in the flooring industry. And as Don Roberts, the chairman of our board, has said many times, this is an industry problem and there has to be an industry solution. Everybody needs to be involved in it. I will tell you, the solution is not to steal installers from your competition. I actually know a guy who said, I don't have an installation problem. I don't have an installer problem. What I do is I go hide, and literally he said this, I go hide in the bushes across the street from my competition, and I wait for their installer vans to load up, and I follow the installer vans to their job, and I introduce myself and I offer to pay them more money. So I never have, what? That's not the solution. The only solution is to bring new people into this trade. And again, we're here. There's a lot of things we can and will do as the foundation on a national level, Jerry, but the real magic is got to happen local. And that means, people have got to take some responsibility in their own local market. And, you mentioned technical colleges. I mentioned, why don't you go talk to a technical college and see if they have interest, share with them the problem, and then bring us into the fold. How about this? How about go talk to your local high school guidance counselor? Your high school guidance counselor can't recommend this career path to young people if they don't know anything about it themselves.
Yeah, it's to me, it's beyond a problem. It really is an opportunity. I mean, it's an opportunity. It is another avenue. It's something that kids haven't considered because they haven't been told about it.
Exactly.
So I think it's a good opportunity, not only for everybody in our industry, but for the kids that are coming up to give them another avenue into another career, and that can lead into them owning their own business, their own retail store. They can make money doing something that's very satisfying doing and changing somebody else's home.
We just don't tell the story often enough, and we don't tell it loud enough, and we got to start doing it.
Before we get off, the only thing I'd like to do, I'd like to leave us with a story from our very first program. Jim shared with you a while ago. In fact, the very first application we received was from a young man named Will. And he said he wanted to come to Dalton and participate in this 10-week program. And I had to get on the phone and call him and say, well, you realize this is in Dalton, Georgia, right? Because, that's a little far to be driving every day. And he said, no, ma'am. He said, I've got some family there. I'd like to come and I'm very interested in what you're presenting. And I said, okay, great. So we went through the scholarship process. He was accepted for funding. We put him through the program. He lived with family members there in Dalton Monday through Friday. He did not miss one day. He would leave on Friday after class, drive home to Cincinnati, be back on Monday morning to start classes. He did that for 10 weeks. And then we were able to get him through a job. He actually had several offers while he was in the last week or so of the class, because that's part of what we do. and he has ended up working for somebody in Cincinnati. But he sent me a text about a month ago with pictures of the projects he's working on. And he said, Miss Kay, please tell the industry how much we appreciate, my family and I, how much we appreciate this opportunity. He said, I never believed that I could make the kind of money I'm already making in just a short amount of time. And we're excited about what we're going to be doing in the future. But please tell them on behalf of my family how much I appreciate that. You know, Jerry, that's what keeps us going. You know, that's what, because we know that he's just one of many people out there that are looking for this opportunity.
That's a great point. That would be a great ad to use that as a testimony or quote. One last thing, and the photo behind you, the flag, made me think of this question. So what about—
That's my daughter. She's a captain in the Air Force.
Oh, well, thank you for her service. So
absolutely.
how about military people getting out of the military?
Yeah, listen, I would tell you, so we need to follow back up with the people at Recruit Military. We had a conversation with him a while back. He's the guy that told us there were over $200,000, 200,000 people exiting the military and going back into civilian life every year. And so he said, what he asked us about, he goes, where is the need? And I said, it's everywhere. I mean, every town needs installers because every town has floors, right? And he goes, well, I like that, because a lot of times the companies I deal with, they want to hire military, but they want to, I mean, they're like based in Charleston, South Carolina, or Detroit, Michigan. And what happens is these people want to go back home where they grew up, where they live. They already know where they want to go. He says, not every organization I talk to has an opportunity everywhere. And I love that. But here's what he said. He goes, you guys aren't ready for us now. You aren't ready. He says, you need to get your foundation's legs underneath you and get some experience and get more money flowing in, get yourself established. He said, because honestly, when we partner, I'm probably going to send you more than you can handle.
I wish we would have started with that, because isn't that something that the biggest problem is awareness, as you say, and finding the people. And here's a whole bunch of people that are ready to enter the industry today.
Right.
But the problem is that your foundation isn't up and running. If it had been existing for 5 years, this wouldn't even be an issue.
Oh, no.
You got so many people going through. So this is really exciting, because to me, it seems like one of the biggest challenges is, which opportunity are you guys grasping at right now? You know, it's like they're everywhere. And so part of the challenge for you guys is staying focused to go and
you're exactly right, Jerry. And that is, you know, shortly after I got started, Don Roberts, who's the chairman of our board, and myself, we went to go visit the big three, and you know, Mohawk Shaw Engineered Floors in Dalton, and I sat across the table from Vance Bell just before he had retired, and he looked at me and he says, your biggest challenge is not, you're going to want to follow everything. You're going to hear a great idea and you're going to think, well, I got to go in that direction. He said, don't get taken off course by the shiny object. Just keep focus on. And so that's kind of what Kay and I have done. Right now, we have such tremendous momentum with the technical colleges. And that's really where we've been following. I mean, look, here's the thing, though. You think about, we could go to Recruit Military, but and they could say, okay, great. I've got 10 people now that are moving back into, I don't know, Dubuque, Iowa. Okay, all 10 of them are very interested in flooring installation. Okay, that's great, fantastic. Now I got to work with CFI, NWFA, and CTEF to get them there. See, what if we already had the training in place at a technical college? So there's so many moving parts to this, there's so many components. So you got to have the teacher, you got to have the student, you got to have the location.
Funding.
You got to have funding. You got to have funding. And right now we don't have enough of it. We've got some, but the big three have stepped up and a couple of other manufacturers. But again, industry problem, industry solution. We've got to get training local. And I think the technical college program does that in spades. So that's where we're focusing a lot of attention right now.
Well, we'll work on awareness and funding. And like I said, I think we just have to consistently promote and educate people about you and what's going on, and do it in a simple enough way. Like you said, you're looking to recruit people, you're looking for places. There's so many opportunities here. So it's very exciting, actually. And I think you guys will nail this problem right on the head, and by giving kids opportunities.
No doubt.
Believe me, at our stage of the career, the only reason Jim and I believe, I'm not going to speak for Jim, but the only reason that, you know, the tireless hours that we're putting into this right now is because we know what the future can hold for the industry.
Yeah.
I said I came from, my dad was in the industry, and I want to leave this industry in a better place than it was when I came into it. Even though we have a lot of great opportunities, I just want to build a platform for the future.
Yeah, no, this will live on for a long time. So, well, I appreciate it very much. Anything
for the
else to add
platform.
before I close this out?
What's that again?
Is there anything else to add before I close this out?
Listen, I'd just say, please, please consider donating and supporting the foundation. You can do that at fcef.org and click on the donate tab. And again, the magic is going to happen locally. We got to get people talking about it in every community. And once you do talk to somebody about it, send them to flooryourfuture.com.
If they go into fcf.org and go to donation, can they set up like an automatic? So $100 a month,
yes.
just automatically charges their card once a month.
Yes.
All right. So that'll make it easy for a lot of flooring dealers, maybe just to automate it.
That's what.
Well, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make it simple and easy for all of us to be able to move this thing forward.
That's a great investment. Everybody should do that. In a heartbeat. That would be brilliant. So
we agree.
Help everyone.
Thanks for the forum, Jerry.
Okay, everyone, thanks for joining the Flooring Business Podcast. If you'd like to have a discovery call for your flooring business where we can review where you're at and how you can increase sales and profits by over 30%, you can contact me at jerry@profitnowwithjerry.com for more information. And you guys have a great, profitable week. All right. Bye, Jim. Bye, Kate.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, I'll just stop the recording. So.